Super Bowl 60, Santa Clara. Let's put a bookmark on this one. Why? The Seattle Seahawks have won their second Super Bowl in franchise history. The New England Patriots are looking for their seventh Super Bowl win in franchise history. Final score, Seattle 29, New England Patriots 13. Now, when we take a look at this game, Joe, leading up to the Super Bowl, it's important to let the people know. Heavy public action on the Seattle Seahawks. But that line really didn't move. 4.5 at the opener. We saw little fives like within the first 24 hours, but they quickly went back to 4.5. And just keeping tabs on it yesterday, I thought there might have been a chance that we could have seen -5s or even maybe a move to -4. We didn't get that. The primary number at kickoff, Joe, was 4.5 and a total of 45.5. Let's start here with this game. Public likes Seattle, and by far, Seattle was the much better team from start to finish, Joe, in this football game.
And they were, and it turned out to be chalky in the end. But, you know, how they were even in the game, Donnie, at the break is beyond me, not having scored any points and being down 9-0. But if you had an under ticket last night and you were watching that after the break, you were already counting your money and going, yep, we're good to go. And then you had to sit there and sweat it out late, which was absolutely crazy. But once the game got out of hand, all of a sudden you saw Seattle start to go a little more prevent there, and that was the end of that. But this game was never in doubt for Seattle from the get-go.
Yeah, you just take a look at the game itself and you look at the quarterbacks, right? Because they were the big question marks coming in. The one thing we always said was like, oh, Sam Darnold, and he was phenomenal in the NFC Championship game, that win over the Rams. Could he do it again on the biggest stage? Well, it turns out he didn't really need to do that. They let him throw the ball 38 times, didn't turn the football over with any interceptions. They'll take that. But the fact of the matter was, you watch that first half with the New England Patriots and Drake May, and you said to yourself, like, the Patriots defense is keeping them in it, and they can't do anything to turn the momentum, sustain drives, put any points on the board, and we're getting shut out into the fourth quarter. Drake May, just look for, I don't know if it was too big a stage for Drake May, because then we find out that he's taken shots in his shoulder before the game to get loosened up there, probably couldn't feel it all that well, and it looked that way. He had guys wide open the majority of the night, and I'm not saying like every play was open, but there were plays to be made, and Drake May early just couldn't make those plays, Joe, to turn the tide in that game.
No, he was, he was under duress, and we knew that. But it just, you could see, it was like he looked like a deer caught in the headlights. That's exactly what he looked like, Donnie. And quite honestly, he missed a number of throws that, were easy throw and catch. And he just rushed it. He did not look comfortable at all. He looked like a guy that was playing in his first big game. But if we're being honest, hindsight 2020 here, but the Patriots got to that game, in spite of the way he played in the postseason, because it wasn't great, and it turns out it had nothing to do with the weather after all.
Yeah, take a look at some of those, pressured 19 times in that Super Bowl, 10 off-target passes, which is a career high for Drake May. He was under siege, but certainly didn't help out. Again, plays were to be made out there, and he wasn't able to do that. You flip it over to Sam Darnold, who, again, only threw for 202 yards here. He had a lot of chances early in that game, and if everybody remembers the Jackson Smith and Jigba play where it's sort of a broken play where it comes wide open, you lost that football out there. That's a 70-plus yard touchdown pass, and that breaks the game open. He wasn't able to do that. A couple chances to Rashid Shaheed weren't able to come through as well. But you just take a look at Drake May. Like, I had Drake May over 215.5 passing yards. Should have been dead in the water, but you get that fourth quarter. He's just throwing nonstop here. And the best part about that was, for me, Joe, is I probably thought I was going to get shut out of that. He throws the pick six, which allowed him to get the football right back and stack more yards up. So he easily goes over his number. But Sam Darnold, we talked about, Joe, 225.5 all week long. He stays well under that because why? Kenneth Walker III was great. 27 carries, 135, 5 yards per carry. Needed the runs when he got them, and he did it. MVP.
No, he had 94 yards in the first half, Donnie. I mean, there wasn't really, that was the story there. But, when you look at him in this postseason run, that's what they wanted to be. That's what they were. They were a run-first team. They ran the ball at a higher percentage than anybody else in the NFL. They wanted to avoid Sam Darnold making the game-changing interception or turnover, even though he led the league in turnovers this year as a quarterback. And that's exactly the way he played. That's exactly what Seattle did. And the game plan was spot on for McDonald and for the Seahawks, which is why he's holding a trophy and now gets his ring.
Like, you could tell early on. Sometimes, like, you
Mhm.
figured, like, this game is probably gonna play out a certain way. They were absolutely destroying that offensive line of the New England Patriots here. When Will Campbell, 2 out of, like, the first 4 plays was absolutely brutalized and knocked into Sam Darnold, he said, "Ooh, how's this gonna hold up?" Exactly the way you thought it would. A shutout through 3 quarters. More Super Bowl talk coming up next right on the early line. Don't miss out. We'll be back after this short break. Joe, I thought Kenneth Walker was really good in this game, sustaining that ground game early. Sam Darnold was a little bit shaky and really got them the lead, right? 3 points in the first quarter, a couple field goals in the second quarter. You take the lead 9-0 entering in the half, but at least you knew you could build on that running game. The New England Patriots couldn't do that here. Their offensive line was getting abused, some exotic blitz calls throwing them off. The young rookie left tackle really struggling out there, and also from the running game. Stevenson, 7 carries for 37 yards under his total. Now, Travion Henderson, depending on what number you got, did sneak over his rushing total, but he was under 20 yards as well. When you're looking at a game that's going to be close with shaky quarterbacks, it's nice to have that bell cow. And you take a look at Kenneth Walker, 27 carries, 135 yards. And by the way, it was the correct holding call at the end of the game, which I know a lot of people had tickets, touchdown tickets there on Kenneth Walker, included in parlays. The total in the game was up in the air. It was the right call. But let's just say that call isn't made. And he has like 28 carries for $175 and a touchdown. One of the better all-time performances by a running back in the biggest game of the season. But Walker did his job, man. You saw Zach Charbonnet go down. He really handled that bell cow load.
Yeah, he did. I mean, and we were talking about it, Donnie. I mean, and kudos to Jason Myers, who might have had the best season of his career. And this is a guy that's been doing it for a very long time. But he sets a Super Bowl record with
Yeah.
5 field goals to go along. So Sam Darnold didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot, given the fact that Myers was spot on. And, you know, you've got Walker basically almost at the century mark at the half. And then from that point on, it was just don't give the Patriots an opportunity to get back into it. And that's exactly what they did. And Sam Darnold, to his credit, you know, he missed some throws. He was fortunate on some others, but he made some throws. And listen, what he didn't do was turn the ball over, which is exactly what they were trying to avoid. And wouldn't you know it, they're Super Bowl champions.
Here's what I like to talk about as well, because this is a very interesting topic. I call it like the LeBron James clause. And the reason why I say that is LeBron James doesn't get any credit for going to, let's just say, 10 NBA finals. Now, granted, it was like 4 and 6 in NBA finals, whatever it is. But like, they talk about like Michael Jordan. Hey, 6-0 in the NBA finals. Well, what happened like the other 15 years or whatever for him? He didn't get there, but you don't get discredited for that. It's almost like if you get to a Super Bowl or an NBA finals and you don't win it, oh, that's going to be a real black mark. Because now you have the New England Patriots with another loss in the Super Bowl, which is 6, which is all time. Is it a badge of honor? Say, well, we've played in 12, or now do we do the LeBron James thing? Say, well, you lost 6, so that erases any goodwill that you had.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, now listen, the good news is glass is what, half full here, Donnie, because a lot of these guys, you know, I mean, they said it even last night. And by the way, kudos to Mike Tirico, who this, I believe, was his first in the chair opportunity to call a Super Bowl game. And it was maybe the worst game that you could possibly have there, but he did a really good job. And he brought up, he brought up the fact that no other team, I mean, you're talking about what, over 40 guys, 50 guys on his team for the first time. They ran the table and made it to the Super Bowl. So when you consider where they were a year ago to where they are now, and that Drake May is only 23 years old, they've got to build up the offensive line. But that, Donnie, to me, was a legit defense. That's a legit Super Bowl defense there that the Patriots have. Now they got to just figure some of the other things out, and they'll have the cap space to do it because they'll have Drake May locked up for another couple of years here on that rookie deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How about this from Bleacher Report? Sam Darnold is the first quarterback from his stacked draft class to win a Super Bowl. And this looks even worse for teams like the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Jets. Like, was he the end-all, be-all in this game? No, he wasn't. But you still needed a very good season from Sam Darnold to get to the Super Bowl, which again included the NFC Championship game, which basically was the Super Bowl. He was phenomenal. He got them there. He didn't blow it on the biggest stage, and now he's a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, Donnie, right? I mean, it's easier said than done, right? I mean, don't be the reason. It's kind of hard because you're going to be like, don't be the reason we lose the Super Bowl. But at the same time, you might have to be the reason we win it. I mean, not great here for Sam Darnold, who was trying to, get rid of all of those ghosts and silence all the critics, Donnie. And listen, he wasn't the MVP. He didn't need to be Superman, right? Although they needed him against the Rams, didn't they, in order to get to this game? So he did his part, very much a part of why they are Super Bowl champions. They just didn't need him to do a whole lot in this game.
I'll tell you what the great thing about it, too, is the another tweet here. The 2025 Seattle Seahawks overcame 60-1 preseason odds to win the Super Bowl. When you look at the roster construction, it's a very good defense here. It has capabilities on offense to move it. But make no mistake about it. They were 60-1, not because of their team construction. They were 60-1 because they had Sam Darnold at a quarterback. Yeah, nice guy, no chance at winning. Biggest games he's going to fail, and that's not going to work out. How about that, though? 60-1 to start the season. With the way you saw the season play out, all the way through, Seattle's one of the best teams in the NFL. Number 1 seed heading into the playoffs here. No fluke victories here and champions. It's hard to believe they were, Joe, 60-1 to start the season.
Yeah, and it all because of the quarterback, right? And, everyone looked at Sam Darnold. And listen, the betting markets did the same for Sam Darnold for the majority of the season. There's no way I can back Sam Darnold. No way I can trust Sam Darnold. And the fact that he threw, 20 picks or turned it over 20 times this year, Donnie, it didn't help the betting markets get any more comfortable with this Seattle team. And then all of a sudden, he started to earn it a little bit here. And that performance, by the way, against the Rams might have been one of the all-time greatest and a big reason as to why they are Super Bowl champions right now.
And what a way to go out as well. Clint Kubiak puts a ring on his finger, then slides over to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Didn't seem like it bothered him all that much because you always get this, hey, this guy already took a head coaching job. How invested is he in this football team? Well, thank goodness he has a great defense as well, but he is now a Super Bowl champion and moving on to be the Raiders head coach.
And kudos, right? So now, Seattle, for the most part, actually is in good shape also, right? Because they've got a lot of those guys on both sides of the ball locked up here, so they'll be able to turn it back. But like most Super Bowl champions, Donnie, and this is an Eagles, right? There is going to be some attrition in the coordinator room. So we're going to see what Seattle does here. And what does McDonald do? Who replaces them? Are they going to be just as effective? We're going to find out here. Don't forget, his first year as the OC here in Seattle, and he ran it, and boy, did they run it well right to a Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, by the way, a lot of fans, a lot of superstars in the crowd. Lewis Hamilton, Kim Kardashian at the Super Bowl, but also, Joe, it used to be you watch the Super Bowl for 3 parts. Yes, you love the football. Yes, you love the halftime show, or at least you were intrigued by it, wanted to watch it. And you also love the commercials. Like when you were at parties, it was like, okay, nobody go, oh, okay, quiet. The commercials are on. Well, whatever. Like you're paying so much for these commercials now. And there was maybe one decent one last night, which is the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. But as my kid would watch it and be like, I don't know who any of these people on the TV screen are. At least that one was decent for me. But man, it used to be like the commercial was here. Sit down and watch them. No longer the case for me.
Yeah, I mean, and are we even watching them with the sound on half the time, Donnie? We got other things going on. It's like, and quite honestly, I cannot wait to see what the ratings are for this because we talked about it. There was no Swifties tuning in last night for that broadcast. And judging by the score at the half, I don't know how many people came back for the second half, Donnie. I really don't.
And by the way, coming back to Los Angeles next year is the Super Bowl. That's Super Bowl 61 before it gets back to the East Coast in Atlanta and then goes back to Vegas. I'll say this one thing. Like most of us weren't out there for the Super Bowl. And thank goodness that we weren't. Like Super Bowl cities are supposed to make it easy on media and easy on fans to watch the game and participate in the activities. That was a travesty. What happened is they called it the Bay Area Super Bowl, where you were routinely in a car for an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get the media outlets here. Didn't make much sense. Get it back to the cities that know how to actually host a Super Bowl, and it looks like they will be doing that.
Exactly. It's let's give it time, but they got to go ahead and run these out. The contracts and the money have already been exchanged here, Donnie. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, all that money you're getting from the public here. Where in San Jose? Stop here. Tom Vecchio joined us here to talk little Super Bowl action. Super Bowl Sunday officially in the books here. Super Bowl 60 on to Super Bowl 61 next year. Donnie right side, Joe Raniero. Let's welcome in Tom Vecchio here. Post Super Bowl coverage, Tom. 29-13 was the final. The Seattle Seahawks getting their second Lombardi trophy, favored by 4.5, easily covered that total, but also the total in this game should have been an easy under that turned into a melee in the fourth quarter that saw 30 points and could have had a rushing touchdown by superstar Kenneth Walker, MVP. That could have changed money in a lot of situations here, Tom. How we feel about that Super Bowl? Welcome into the show, man.
It was okay. I think like it ended on a good note. Like if we got what we got in the fourth quarter, the entirety of the game, it probably would have been one of the best Super Bowls we've seen. But it was a really rough go of things. Joe and I were live last night at halftime, and it was a tough game, especially for the Pats side of things. And a lot of people are going to talk about their schedule. A lot of people are going to be talking about Seattle and their defense. Like it's a combination of both things. The Pats weren't like they didn't have some trial by fire to get to the Super Bowl, and the Seahawks defense was unbelievable.
Yeah, you needed to make some of those plays early in the game, and New England just looked so disjointed here. It was like, can we just take snaps and, not turn the football over and give it back 9-0 at the half? And also understand this, too. One of those situations where Seattle understood the task at hand. Just don't turn the football over. Let's just kick field goals. We should be okay. So a lot of us, bitching and moaning on bets in the first half. I ended up 2-2 because I had Drake May over 215.5. No idea how he finished with 295, but that fourth quarter was absolutely insane. But the one I kept looking at was like Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Chances to have big plays, they just couldn't connect. And Darnold finished was a 202. I had Darnold to throw over 1.5 touchdown passes. He only threw the one here. What did you think out of the quarterback play from both sides last night, Tom?
I said to Joe at halftime last night, the game reminded me of the Pats game versus the Broncos, right? As long as they didn't make mistakes, the Seahawks, they would win the game. And that's ultimately what it got down to. Like they had the Pats beyond arm's reach. And Drake May got there because of attrition. He looked terrible. Throwing touchdowns on a lot of yards because you have to is not always a good thing. Pocket presence, the protection, the sacks were all horrible for him. Sam Darnold did what he needed to do. And honestly, credit to him, getting this, off his back. There's no more jokes about him seeing ghosts. He's a Super Bowl champ and he deserves it.
Yeah. What'd you think of the coaching by the Patriots, though, Tom? Because there were some opportunities there. And it felt like they were playing with house money and you had nothing to lose, but we're punting. We're not going for it on 4th and 2. We're not going for 2 point. Like it just felt like they were being conservative at a time when you didn't need to be conservative. You needed somebody to make a play and get some momentum.
Right. And like, I don't want to say like it seemed like they got to a point and the moment was too big where like they couldn't show up. Like if you have the coach of the year and the, MVP runner up, those are the type of plays that you should be trusting those guys to make. Like you have to be able to convert 4th down, and you have to have a play that gets you 2 yards. You need to go for 2 to then set you up to get a touchdown and a field goal, which would have put them down by 11 after they scored that touchdown, in the coaching. So I almost want to say like the Pats were here a year early. Like they had a pretty easy path. There was no Lamar Jackson. There was no Mahomes. There was no Joe Burrow. And they overexceeded expectations. They weren't ready for the moment. If you tell me next year they go to the AFC Championship and they lose, the following year, I think they'd be primed for a Super Bowl because they didn't have the battles to get here, and they have to learn from those mistakes.
And how dominant they were, too. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba barely even involved. They got a lot of targets early, then gets injured, check for a concussion, comes back. But if you would have told me, Tom, 4 catches, 27 yards, like, whoa, Patriots probably at least got that cover, if not one. But that shows you how dominant that Seattle defense was here, Tom. A lot of fun. Look, the NFL never stops, Joe Ranieri. You know this. We're going to talk about NFL topics all the way through and preview games when the spreads come out and the schedules come out, in late April as we get ready for the draft. Did you know 73 days away, Joe, from the NFL draft coming up? But also, here's some more things to look forward to in the NFL landscape, tweeted out by Field Yates. February 17th to March 3rd is the window to use your franchise tags. February 23rd to March 2nd is the NFL Combine. February 9th to the 11th is the free agency legal tampering period. And then March 11th at 4 o'clock, free agency begins. And then April 23rd is the draft. The NFL sets this up, Joe. 365, 24/7. Let's go.
Let's do it, Donnie. You got to love it, right? The NFL's a 12-month-a-year business and headlines. And, leading right into the draft where, hey, teams like the Raiders fan bases, the New York
Ooh.
Jets fan bases, that's
Ah.
when the new season begins for us, Donnie, where we start getting excited about what could be until, of course, after the first week of the regular season, and we realize it's all for naught anyway.
Let's take a look at the predictive market show. Never too early. Yes, Seattle looks good. Yes, Seattle's got a great defense and a great head coach and a great general manager. It's hard to repeat, but they, talking about the Seahawks, are the favorite right now on the Kalshi predictive markets at an 11% chance right now, which means if you got involved last year at 60-1, you ain't getting involved in that this year. A $100 investment pays back $770. Much different price point than this time last year, Joe.
Yeah, you think just a hair, Donnie, a little bit of a just a little bit of a difference there. But hey, listen, they are going to have all the same pieces back right now. Their big thing, Kenneth Walker's a free agent, so somebody is going to pay him. Now, whether that's Seattle or not remains to be seen. I'm sure they'd love it. Don't forget, Charbonnet, that's a big injury. Who knows if he'll be ready by the time the season starts next year. Do you let the MVP walk if you're Seattle?
Yeah, he's in a pretty good position either way. He's going to stay with Seattle for a really good amount of money, or he's going to go to the highest bidder for a good amount of money at this point right now. And also, the franchise tag does help him out as well if they do that, because of running backs' resurgence and getting paid over the past couple years. That now looks much better than it did, let's just say, 3 to 4 years ago here. Is there any team, Joe, because number 2, if we're looking, is the Los Angeles Rams, trading at 11% as a chance right now, followed by Buffalo and Baltimore. Every single year, I take a look at Baltimore and I say to myself, they're so talented. They should be able to get it done. It's a new head coach. Like $100 investment on Baltimore pays back $1,429. I seem, Joe, to get sucked in every single year by what I get out of the Baltimore Ravens. Is it time for the change at head coach is going to help them? Or, Donnie, you know better than that. You've seen it before. It ain't happening.
Donnie, I want nothing to do with any of these teams. I want nothing to do with any of these 10 teams that all of a sudden blow up their franchises and are bringing in unproven head coaches, except for the Giants, who I think can only go up from where they are. All the rest of these teams, Donnie, different coach, you're going to get the same thing with the Baltimore Ravens, right? A lot of these teams with all these new head coaches, I'm good. I'm gonna do a lot of no's in that market, Donnie, with those teams, namely Pittsburgh, who it looks like Aaron Rodgers likely coming back there for good old Mike McCarthy.
How about the number 2 overall pick, Joe, on the predictive markets here? Arvell Reese, talented linebacker. He's actually trading at 57%. Reuben Baines right behind him at 20%. But how about this, Joe? We go a little bit farther down that list. The court cases right now are making an impact on the predictive markets, because now Trinidad Chambliss is showing up, Joe, only trading at a 3% chance. A $100 investment pays back $14.29. You know teams need quarterbacks, Joe. So I'm going to ask you this question. Number 1, obviously, is going to be a quarterback. That's going to be Mendoza to Vegas. Number 2, that could be Trinidad Chambliss right now, and you know that price point's going to get way better if these courts keep knocking him down. He actually has to go be a pro.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, it's the New York Jets picking at number 2. They should get the best player on the board, which should be either an offensive lineman or a defensive edge rusher, right? That's what they should do. What they will likely do is reach with the number 2 pick and, like you're saying, go Chambliss or even worse, Ty Simpson. They will reach here, and they will screw it up here, Donnie. But it should be either an edge rusher or the best tackle on the board, because you got to build up that offensive line.
I got to tell you this too, Joe, because you point this out so many times in the predictive markets. Like, if you pick Trinidad Chambliss today, I'm like, oh no, we wrote it out and he didn't get drafted number 2. You know as well as I do, once he starts hitting the circuit, his arm looks great. And did you see what he did? That 3% turns into 4%, turns into 6%, turns into 8% when you're still holding at, let's just say, 3%. When you get to the top of that market, whether you think he's going to be number 2 or not, Joe, that's profitability in your back pocket.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. So and the same thing with, you keep going down the board, the Ty Simpsons of the world, or quite honestly, I mean, look at Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, Donnie.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock me. They let Brees Hall go and end up drafting a running back with the number 2 pick because that's what the Jets do. They figure out ways to screw it up.
Bad Bunny yesterday, Joe. We haven't talked about any Bad Bunny topics yesterday. Came out at halftime, had the clean white suit on. Everybody was dancing, having a good time. Just couldn't understand the lyrics, but I know there was a lot of backlash. Oh, you can't have him there. I thought the performance and I thought the visuals were very good. It's just a shame I didn't know. Like, I would have liked that there were subtitles on the screen that would have actually listed his lyrics. No? Like, I think that was missing yesterday. We should have had that.
I was on the halftime show last night, Donnie. So I can only briefly see it out of the. Yeah, no, not that halftime show. Our halftime show here on In Game Live. And yeah, no, I kind of caught it out of the corner of my eye. I mean, visually it looked great. The dance, I mean, the outfits, it looked, but we learned a long time ago. The NFL, they're not picking these artists or these halftime shows based on you and me, Donnie. They're basically picking these artists to expand the game. They want people who would never watch a football game all year, but would tune in strictly for the. That's their goal of these halftime artists. It has nothing to do with catering to diehard football fans.
And that's where you see the spike, too, in the telecast. It always spikes at halftime because there are people that don't actually like football that just want to see a good halftime show, and that's what happens there. And the NFL is about money. But, like, when I watch Netflix, it's like, something like, okay, this is filmed over in, I don't know, Italy. Like, they put the subtitles up. I might have enjoyed that just a little bit more. But, hey, it's a 13-minute halftime show. They brought it yesterday. And, by the way, like, whether you're not like Bad Bunny or not, the halftime show was better than the football game itself. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but at least you got some entertainment out of that game if you were, let's just say, a New England Patriots fan at that point here. So away we go into our hot topic of the day, Joe, which we like to include the public out there to see where they're going. It's our Fade the Public poll. One book closes, Joe, one opens up. We just ended the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks won. And we asked you today at SportsGrid, who are you picking for next year's Super Bowl champion, Joe? And coming in at 39.5%, the Rams. Nobody's respecting the Seahawks. Yeah, the Seahawks are a nice story. 15% right now live, Joe. Nobody likes them.
Yeah, listen, there is going to be some question marks in there, but for the most part, that team is returning, at least the core pieces are returning. It's because you got a great general manager. The head coach remains. There will be some turnover in the coach's room, but, listen, there's no reason to think they won't be right there, but they're going to have to go through, again, the 49ers and the Rams in that division in order to do it. So the path won't be easy, but I can see there's nothing glaring at the Seahawks to say they can't do exactly what they did again this year. Next year, we'll see if the Rams or the 49ers can get in their way.
I went Buffalo Bills, 12-1 price. I can't quit him. Get the guy number 1 wide receiver. He should have been in the Super Bowl yesterday. Brandon Cooks made the catch, blah, 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 and away we go.